Hello, and welcome to FE with Jo, Fire Education with me, Joanna. I work with children, teenagers, and families when there's been a fire. Maybe a fire at home, perhaps a fire in school, or even a fire outside, like a rubbish fire or a grass fire. One of my most favourite things to do in my work is to read stories. The story I'm going to share with you today, I've read with children, I've read to teenagers, and I've even read with parents and grandparents, because we're never too old for a story. So, snuggle in, or as we say in Wales, cwtch in, which is like the best snuggle, the best hug and the best cuddle you've ever had, all rolled into one. So, cwtch in, as we hear all about a boy called Jez, a hamster, and a dragon. Jez's Lucky Day by Michelle Oddy and Kate Strudwick. Illustrated by Jason Hodges. This is where Jez lives. I wonder if it looks anything like where you live. Maybe it does, or maybe it doesn't. Wherever you live, I am sure there are things that you will recognise, like the fire station with its two big red doors and tall tower, or the school with the children in the yard, or maybe the takeaway. Wherever you live, what you will recognise are the people, because whoever we are and wherever we are from, people are people. This village is called Abbeyglen. Deep in the South Wales valleys lies the village of Abbeyglen. If you look carefully, you can see children lining up outside the school, which is at the far end of George Street, opposite the chapel. This school has its very own pet hamster. Can you see her? She's there. She's just really small. Maybe in the next picture you'll see her. Can you see her now? Yes, there she is, on top of her cage in the window. One Friday, Jez and his class were settling down for the literacy hour with their teacher, Mr. Morgan. There's Mr. Morgan at the front of the class. Can you see the paper dragons hanging from the ceiling? Have you spotted Jez yet? Maybe he'll be easier to see in the next picture. Now, who can tell me the title of this week's big book? Asked Mr. Morgan as usual. Everyone knew the answer, but Jez's hand shot up first. The Dragon's Tale, sir, he announced eagerly. The children have worked really hard to decorate the walls of their classroom. They've drawn dragons, Welsh and Chinese. They've drawn a map of Wales and the flag of Wales that has a great big red dragon right in the middle of it. They've drawn shapes and even made dragons out of shapes. And they've created a sign to tell us the day of the week. We know it's Friday. Can you see the poster that says Friday? Under the word Friday is Dydd Gwener. This is how we say Friday in Welsh. Now where's the hamster? There she is, of course. She hasn't moved. She's waiting to hear the dragon's tale, just like the children. You've really enjoyed this book, haven't you, Jez? Beamed Mr. Morgan. And you've worked so hard all week too. Jez nodded. I wish I could take it home, he sighed. We'll see, his teacher added mysteriously. If you carry on like this, it could just turn out to be your lucky day. It looks like the hamster has her hand up. I think she wants to ask a question. What question would you like to ask, Mr. Morgan? Can you see the dragon? That looks a very scary dragon to me. It has a long tail to whip us with, sharp talons to scratch us with, and most of all, big orange flames from its mouth that can hurt us and burn us. Mr. Morgan opened the book and the children began to read aloud. Everyone agreed the Dragon's Tale was the most exciting story they had ever read. Can you see the hamster? Of course you can. There she is, helping Mr. Morgan hold up the book for all the children to see. What a kind hamster she is. That afternoon, Jez was delighted to find that it was his group's turn for art. This was a chance to make his own dragon, just like the one in the story. Paul poured the paint, Brett brought the brushes, Mira moulded a model, Kerry cut the card, and Wendy wiped the water away. Jez wanted his dragon to be the best. Look at the hamster helping Jez make his dragon. She looks very strong, holding the wing high above her head. Have you spotted Paul pouring the paint? Yes, there he is, in the blue jumper. Brett, with the brushes, is at the back, in the black and white long-sleeved t-shirt. But where's Mira moulding a model? Ah, look, there she is. She's next to Brett. She has her hair in pigtails, can you see? And opposite her is Kerry, cutting the card. And Wendy's next to Paul on the floor, wiping away the water that's been tipped. Can you see what Jez and Mira have in common? Yes. When they concentrate, which means when they think really, really hard, they stick their tongue out. Do you know somebody who sticks their tongue out when they think really hard? Maybe it's you. That's all right. We all learn and think in different ways. What matters is we try our best. At the end of the day, everybody scurried about helping to tidy up the classroom. Jez hurried to get his coat and collect his dragon. I told you it was your lucky day, smiled Mr. Morgan, as he handed Jez a small version of the dragon's tail. And don't forget that it's your turn to look after the hamster this weekend, he reminded, as Jez raced out to meet his grandfather. That's why the hamster has a suitcase with her. She's spending the weekend with Jez at home. I wonder if at the weekend you sometimes live in a different home. Do you pack a suitcase when you go to stay somewhere different? Don't worry, sir, Jez called over his shoulder. I'll take good care of them both. Grandpa was just about to light his pipe when Jez bounded up to him, carefully balancing his precious cargo and bursting to show off his dragon. Goodness me, he exclaimed, bending down for a closer look. We never used to have that much fun when I was at school. Grandpa went to school a very long time ago, because Grandpa's really very old. Because Grandpa is so old, he sometimes gets a little forgetful. That's why he nearly forgot that he should never light his pipe at school. It's a good job Jez was there to remind him. Jez really wishes his grandpa didn't smoke. Jez has learned in school just how bad smoking is for him and for others. But Grandpa never learned this at school. Can you see the hamster? She's still there, suitcase ready, waiting to go home with Jez. Your mam will be amazed, he went on. But mind you don't let your baby sister get hold of it. Too right, Grandcha, Jez thought to himself, and I'd better watch out for the book and the hamster too. Now where's the hamster this time? Oh, look, she's sitting on the dragon as they walk along the street. She's not having to use her legs to walk home. And there she is, heading into Jez's home, the house with the bright yellow door and windows. When Jez and Grandpa arrived home, Mam was busy in the kitchen. She stopped what she was doing, wiped her hands, and turned towards him. As you spot the hamster on the table, helping herself to the chocolate biscuits, what else can you see in this picture? I can see lots of things that can hurt us. Can you see them too? Let me give you some clues. Some things are sharp. Some things are hot. Some things we must never drink or put in our eyes. And some could cause a fire. Can you see them? Look closely. Did you find all of them? There are a lot. This is why we have to be extra careful whenever we're in the kitchen. Jez is proudly telling his mum all about his lucky day at school. Can you see him holding his dragon? Doesn't he look pleased? But oh dear, I can see things in this side of the kitchen that could also hurt us. Can you see what they are too? That's right. Well done. These are the things that could hurt us because they are hot or because they can start a fire. It's also not a good idea to play in the kitchen. I really like the toy truck and the teddy bear, but oops, we could trip over these and hurt ourselves. Later that evening, Jez is in his bedroom. I love the painting the hamster is making. She's doing a self-portrait. She's such a clever hamster. What isn't very clever in this bedroom are the number of plugs in one socket. Too many plugs in one socket can cause a fire. Jez, remove the plugs, please. After removing the plugs, Jez is thinking about his dragon. Although he was really proud of his dragon, there was still something missing. If only my dragon could breathe flames like the one in the book, he thought. and he thinks about all the different ways he could make flames for his dragon. He thinks of scrunching up silver foil. The scrunching sound might sound like the crackling of fire. Then he thinks about using brightly coloured orange, yellow and red tissue paper. That could look like the colour of the flames in the dragon book. Suddenly, he had an idea. Maybe it wasn't one of his better ideas. Can you see what Jez is thinking? He's thinking of using the matches in the kitchen to make his dragon breathe fire. This is a bad idea. As bad ideas go, this is the baddest of bad ideas. There is no way Mam will let him in the kitchen to use the matches. No way. And so Jez thinks, where else are there matches at home? Grandpa's pipe. He remembers that Grandpa uses matches to light his pipe, and they're not out of reach in the kitchen. No, they are in the pocket of his coat in the hallway. Jez thinks his lucky day is carrying on. But could his luck be changing? He crept back upstairs like a thief in the night. Very slowly, very deliberately, very quietly. He slid open the box and took out a single match. There was a rasping as Jez scraped it along the edge of the box, and it spluttered to life. Look at how frightened the hamster is. This clever hamster knows how dangerous fire can be. She knows we must never play with matches. Jez could never have imagined what would happen next. With the sound of the smoke alarm screaming in his ears and the acrid black smoke choking him, stinging his eyes and his lungs, he just wanted it to stop. In his fear, Jez hides under the bed. If there is a fire, we must never hide under the bed. We never hide in a wardrobe or a cupboard. We never hide under a desk. What we must do is get out, stay out, and get the fire service out. How does Jez get out of his bedroom safely when this acrid black smoke is there waiting to choke him? What he does is very quickly, very carefully crawl along the floor to the door, under the smoke, so he does not choke, and he gets out and he stays out. Alerted by the smoke alarm, Jez's mother wasted no time. "Get Bethan out of here and call 999, she screamed. "I must find Jez." Jez was never really sure how Mam had managed to drag him to safety, but he did know that he would have an awful lot of explaining to do. As the firefighters swiftly brought the blaze under control, he looked up and saw his mother's face streaked with tears. His grandfather looked pale and old as he tried to comfort the wailing baby. Just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, he remembered that the school hamster had also been in his bedroom. He started to cry. What had he done? He felt a hand on his shoulder, and he realized that one of the firefighters was speaking. "It must be your lucky day, son," she said. "Another couple of minutes, and it would have been too late for you. And for this little chap." Jez wiped his eyes, and there, in the firefighter's helmet, was a very scared little hamster. The firefighter continued, "You were lucky this time, but I hope that you understand now just how dangerous it is to play with matches. You could have been seriously hurt, or worse." Jez was full of remorse. He was so very sorry. And another thing. What would he say to Mr. Morgan and his class on Monday? This is the end of Jez's lucky day, but it definitely isn't the end of your fire safety at home. So, go back to the beginning of the story and listen again. Remember to look out for the hamster. Remember all the dangers in the kitchen. And most of all, remember, never ever play with matches, lighters, or fire. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being fire safe. Jez and me are very, very proud of you. Until next time, and Effie with Joe, goodbye.